As a kid growing up in the 70s, I experienced a statewide drought that was larger than my family, our neighborhood, or any government to cope with or even comprehend. And then as an adult, I was a journalist and speechwriter, and I was always, interested on the superficial level of businesses and power and government. And it all boiled down, when you trace it to its root, to water. It's, of course, a play on Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, but it's a legitimate one for three reasons. First of all, is the Heart of Dryness is a geographic place at the heart of the central Kalahari in southern Africa, furthest place from any river. At another level, it evokes the empty soul of these powerful politicians that would use water as a weapon. And most tragically, it describes the actual heart of the protagonist in the story, this extraordinary woman, a bushman named Cloriclu Duti, who during an autopsy revealed to the doctor and the coroner the ultimate sacrifice she made to stay in one place for the sake of where she was born and the people she loved. The Bushmen had been cut off from water, from government water that had been supplied them for about a decade or so. And the government says, no, if you're not going to move, we're going to cut off your water. So they did get a lot of people to move, but some people stayed there. I wanted to do something. And the romance came to an end when I broke down in the middle of the Kalahari. And that point I was like, I'm lost here. I don't know what to do. The engine's clogged with sand. I can't move. I can't carry it out. I can't walk out. There's lions I saw yesterday. I am screwed. And this is sort of a microcosm of the conditions that millions and billions of people are facing around the world. The UN says 2/3 of the world is going to be facing water stress. Well, the Bushmen have been dealing with that, I realized, for 30,000 years. Exactly that kind of water stress. And they've been coping with that quite elegantly. They even laugh and they dance, in the middle of this place with no water. And so it eventually dawned on me that Bushmen didn't need my help, but the outside world sure as hell needed their help. And so by the time I got going again, and I could have gone off with these other tourists, smart man would have done so, we need to figure out what the Bushmen have to teach us, what we can learn from them before they vanish forever. Look, even if we stop all greenhouse gas emissions immediately, which isn't going to happen, but even if we did, the world would keep warming. And as it does, that means extreme floods like Hurricane Katrina, matched by extreme droughts that last year after year. In both cases, that's going to mean less water available. And so that's going to affect our energy, it's going to affect our food, it's going to affect our way of life. So climate adaptation boils down to water adaptation. And over the last 30,000 years, there's no society that has proven better at adapting to climate extremes than the Bushmen in the Kalahari Desert. Water scarcity is scary because of the effect it has on society, on political life. You think of most disasters, whether a terrorist attack like 9/11 or a Hurricane Katrina that swamped New Orleans, brings out the best in people. It sort of brings them together. But drought has the opposite effect. It really tears people apart. It turns your neighbor against you. It turns your city against upstate farmers. It turns, your state against your neighboring state, whether it's Virginia versus Maryland or Georgia versus Florida, California versus Arizona, and Texas versus Mexico. And that scarcity is something that isn't unique to anyone. It's tested the Bushmen, but their coping strategies found a way to adapt and to continue to coexist peacefully. That's something we need to learn.